earlier today who immediately understood what this was all about. Unitarian Universalists are in such incredible psychological denial that, they pretend not to know what the truth is, essentially, is what it comes down to. They bury their head in the sand. For him to say, my picket sign, what is my picket sign? Here, that says, Unitarian prejudice and bigotry sucks, you asterisk you. What doesn't make sense about that? It says, prejudice and bigotry engaged in by Unitarian Universalists sucks. I mean, can't you figure that one out, sir? Church of the bad news. Okay, well, I have to admit that these most recent picket signs, this is a little obscure, but it references the fact that there's been a certain amount of bad press generated by my protest. And this is one of the old picket signs that I revived. So it was more topical at the time that the news was actually in the newspaper. Church that spits in God's eye. Well, again, I admit that's a little obscure, but this guy says he's been seeing my protest for quite some time, so I'm sure he's seen the other picket signs too. Anyway, all the more reason to make some brand spanking new picket signs and display them. And we shall continue. But yeah, it's really funny because pretty well every non-Unitarian Universalist who I discuss these issues with understands. It makes perfect sense to them. It's not something that doesn't make sense. They understand right away what's going on. Don't need to even explain half the stuff. They get it. But because this guy's associated with the church, it doesn't make any sense to me. I haven't got a clue what's going on. Like, of course not, sir. Anyway, certainly has proved that it's always worthwhile staying a little bit longer, because the longer you stay, the more interesting stuff happens. And I've often said that there's literally not a half hour that passes in which something doesn't happen that sort of made it worthwhile to be there for that half hour. This morning has actually been, I'd say being here for maybe an hour and a half, probably not even, and already 3 or 4 interesting things have happened, if not 1 or 2 more than that. I've had a couple of good conversations. 3 or 4 actually. Had picket signs stolen. Had a couple of police cars drive by, which caused me to speculate as to whether or not the police had been called and might be intervening today. But so far, it's proven my point that I think they're just totally fed up with all the false calls, and that they will not intervene again unless they get some kind of serious complaint. This is another Unitarian driving in the bike lane. 37G TWM. Okay, well, that was very socially responsible of you, madame. So, recognize the face as a member of the church, I think. I'm not absolutely 100% sure, but it looked like one of the female members of the church driving in the bike lane. Okay, I'm noticing now that there aren't many of the barriers. There's really only one. They should probably put a few more of those green posts up. It might prevent people from driving their car. Good morning, sir. So, this guy doesn't have a lot to say this morning, but he usually doesn't have a lot to say, but we've had a few conversations every now and then. But yeah, it's interesting how people are not respecting the bike lane. It's possible, though, that it's the paint markings are a little worn down. It's not super obvious. I mean, the yellow lines in the middle there are pretty obvious, but anyhow, so yeah, it's quiet again, and I don't see anyone heading this way, so maybe we will wrap things up for March 20th, because as I said, there are other things to do today, such as 10:37. Yeah, you know what, I think we're done. I think we're done for today. It's a little early. I normally go to about 11 or so, but because of the St. Patrick's Day parade, which I want to take some photos and video of, and one or two other things that I have on my plate, I think we're just going to call it a day. It's been a pretty good one. We're done.